So let's get started with creating our own very cool plugin. As you remember, we're going to create a plugin that gets information from the New York Times API and show that on our web page. We're going to create an admin page, and then we're going to move forward with creating a widget for the front end and even work with shortcodes. But first, let's get started. I want you to know that I'm going to work with a basic WordPress installation. Okay, I changed nothing. Only thing I did is just created some extra text in the post. As you can see here, just some lorem ipsum. You can Google lorem ipsum and you can find some sample text. Nothing has changed. All the settings are there. It's just a basic WordPress site. We're going to focus all on creating the plugin, not on everything else. Okay. First one what I'm going to do is we go to the Finder. You go to your plugins folder. So you go to your WordPress website, go to WP content, go to plugins, and here we're going to create a new folder. And this folder is called, I'm going to call it this. If you're going to work with me, just follow my naming conventions. If you're going to create a plugin of your own with a different API, for example, one from Flickr or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, then just create a naming convention. What I did here is I made this unique. PG, that's my initials, New York Times articles. Why I do this? Because when maybe there's a plugin out there is also called New York Times articles, they will conflict. There's hardly a very slow chance that there is another Patrick PG out there creating a New York Times articles plugin. So this is my naming convention. I'm going to use that all the way down. Okay, it's very important to create a unique name. We're going to create a new file, and we're going to do that with Sublime Text. We're going to create a new file. I'm going to work with Sublime Text. We're going to save this file. We go to the local WordPress installation, to the plugin, WP content, plugins, our folder here, and we're going to call it PG New York Times _ articles Dutch PHP. So now we have a file. It's the same file name as the plugin file. This is also very important because this is the main plugin file. So when it's loading the plugin, this is the first file it looks for. It looks for the plugin name .php. From here on we can add new files, CSS files, stuff like that, but it all starts with this one. In this file we're going to start with adding some PHP tags, like this, give some space between them, and inside we're going to copy a comment block. So let me grab the text for a second and copy it down. This is the very basic information you need for a plugin. As you can see here, there are several elements. You can also see this on the WordPress website if you want. We have a name for our plugin. It's called the Patrick Udemy New York Times plugin. The URL for more information on the plugin. This is just my website. The description, what it does, the version, the author URI, so a website to my, and the license. This is basic information. WordPress uses this information to fill in the website, the plugin page in the dashboard, as I'm going to show you later on. Okay, so we're going to save this first, and now we're going to continue straight ahead. We're going to add a function to add a link in the admin menu to place it here under settings. So here we want a link here to work with our cool plugin. You can just go here now to plugins, by the way. You can see here's the name by Patrick Gerrits, plugin site, link to my website, the information. See, we can activate it if we want, but there's nothing there yet. So let's go back. So we're going to create a function. We're going to create a function called, again, I'm going to use my naming conventions like I used before. And this function is there to create the link in the admin page. So what we're going to do is we call a WordPress function, add options page, and in this function we're going to do something. Okay, but first let's take a look at the add option page function. As you can see here on the developer.wordpress.org website, we have the add option page. As you can see, it adds a sub-new page to the setting menus, and here is the function. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings. The first string is the page title, the first string is the menu title, the string the capability, the menu slug, and then the function it's gonna call. Okay, so it takes 4 strings and a function. So let's create this. Let's go back to our page and let's press the enter button twice and let's add the stuff we need right here. So we're gonna start with the page title. Let's call it this is the first argument. Then we're going to call it the, as you remember, the menu title. So this should be a comma. Here we're going to add the menu title. Let's call it the New York Times articles. Then we need to show the capability. When we scroll down, the capability required for this menu to display to the user. So there's a rights thing. So what rights or permission does the user need to make this option available then? We should have manage options here. That's just a basic one. You should be able to manage options. You should be able to access the whole settings page. Otherwise, you shouldn't be seeing this. Now we're going to add a slug to the menu. Let's call it like this, and then we're gonna say what function do we want to run. I'm sorry, let's do it with an underscore because it's a function. Now it's finished. As you can see now, we added an option page. Okay, so the option page is now created and now it's done. But it isn't, because now when we save it, we go here, it's not there. Why isn't it there? What did we forget? We have to run an action. So we have to hook into the add action. We're gonna hook into the admin menu, and for that action we're gonna run this function. Save the file, refresh, let's activate the plugin. As you can see here, now we have the option New York Times articles, and we click on it, nothing is there. So before we move on, let's create a little function to create some extra content here, some basic content. So when we're going to move on, if you remember, we created a function here. So it adds an option page with a title, everything on it. As you can see here, here is the page title, the menu title is there, and this is just a slug. That's the link over here. Now we're going to run this function. So we're going to say function this one, and in this function we're going to do some very basic stuff. We're going to say echo. I'm sorry, this is not. We're going to say echo. We're going to add a small paragraph. I'm going to say welcome to our plugin page. We're going to save this up, and when we refresh, you can see now we get some small text here. There's one more thing we need to add, and this is a little check. It's just very good practice to do this. We're gonna add an if statement, so a conditional here, to check if the user can manage options. We already did it here, but just in case, we want to be checking that no one, security-wise, is coming to this page who isn't allowed. So we're gonna write an if statement, and we're gonna say if the current user can manage options. Let me show you, I made a mistake here. If, no, one more. It's current user can manage options. Then we're gonna give an error, and that error gonna say you do not have enough permission to view this page. So if the user cannot, that's why the exclamation mark is here, if the user cannot manage options, it's going to throw an error with this message, and otherwise it's going to show the welcome page. I'm going to save it again. As you can see, we have enough permissions, so the error page is not here. In the next lecture, we're going to move on with creating more content.